I wrote a script for this video. I don't usually write a script for my videos, but I thought this one was really important to be very clear about. So I wrote a script. I just have my computer in front of me with the script on it, so I'm just going to be reading down it. First off, spoiler warning. If you aren't caught up with the Grinch Leak and everything surrounding it, or if you'd rather not hear anything about it, this video is not for you. With that out of the way, I want to address the whole team real, team fake thing. I am believing the Grinch Leak is real more than ever right now. However, that is just my opinion, and I have been an open book as much as I can about what I've heard and why I am at that conclusion. I will restate this often, but the purpose of the channel was to figure out the Smash roster, not e-fame or YouTube money, etc. I have demonetized the video. So if it gets spread around, it is for the sole purpose of getting the information out there to the Smash community and trying to figure out the roster. I won't make a dime. Whether the leak is real or fake, having my channel's name get tied up in it isn't a concern of mine. My concern is to figure out the roster. It has always been the job of this channel to try and do that. I'd rather be genuine with the Smash community and tell you how I actually am feeling about all this and why I feel that way, rather than go the safe road and feign agnosticism towards the leak for the sake of fail-safing the channel's rep over actually trying to figure out what's going on here. That, to me, would be disingenuous. Some people have even come at me a bit already over believing the leak. Again, that is fine. The point of the channel is to figure out the roster here. If it's fake, I'm sure I'll hear a lot more about that, but I'm okay with that. Doing everything I can to figure out this leak and be completely straightforward with what I'm thinking is more important in my opinion. So over the last day or two, I talked with my source, heard from several other people who claim to have some insider knowledge, gathered a lot of consistencies between all that, and tried to figure out what seems to be happening behind the scenes with all this. Based on all of the stuff I've been hearing, me and some of the people I spoke with came up with a theory as to what is going on. I believe we may have figured it out. I'm aware to be wary of people coming to me with info online. Even the people I spoke to who provided good credentials, who aren't my source, are still being taken with a grain of salt. However, the consistencies in much of what I've been hearing, and after running it all by my source, who I do trust, has still led us to this theory. I've said it before, but it's because of who my source is that I trust them. I think if most people heard who it was and could see the full picture, they would also trust them. Whether or not the information we have heard is true, I trust my source is being honest with me. Some people have proposed I'm being duped. I do not believe that is the case here. Real or fake, I trust my source is being legitimate with me, and we are both simply trying to figure out if the Grinch Leak is real. I have gone over everything I've heard from my source in past videos, but just to reiterate, there is a chain of information here. A source who I have never spoken to before came to me with information. I trust them based off of who they are. They have a Microsoft source. Their Microsoft source confirmed to them that Banjo would be in the game. The Microsoft source was sure of this before the banner, and they had heard about every fighter in the Grinch Leak, plus they also heard Incineroar, but had no proof of any of those except for Banjo. Now that the Grinch Leak is out, they are taking it as proof, but are confused about Incineroar. Some people asked me to ask my source about Minecraft content in Smash. I have, and they told me that they have not heard anything either way on that. Without getting too into it, they are simply given information from their source. I won't say more than that about the specifics. So the odd man out in all of this is Incineroar. Many insiders have seemingly come out against the Grinch Leak and seem sure it must be false. Several have hinted at Incineroar's inclusion. Some have seemed to completely refuse to touch the leak, which has led people to assume they may be doing damage control for Nintendo. I do not know for sure either way, but it is all very suspicious. The Twitter user JoeyTheGamer101 gave an excellent rundown of GameXplain's coverage, or rather lack of coverage, given to the Grinch Leak, and I'll link the Twitter post in the description of this video. Given everything actually surrounding the Grinch Leak itself, and you can hear all about that in my last video, it seems like an incredibly, unbelievably difficult leak to fake with all the evidence supporting it. Insiders' doubts aside, if they would actually take the time to really dig into the leak, it is simply unfakeable with everything surrounding it. In my opinion, the worst case scenario is we have a Gemetsu leak situation, and the Grinch Leak is real, but something is off about it, much like what happened with the Gemetsu leak where it ended up being old information. I don't think the Grinch Leak is old information, but there's something potentially off, worst case scenario. I cannot fathom it is a typical fake leak that they just so happen to have this much going for it. I could literally make another nearly hour-long video on further things that have come out in favor of the validity, but I am far past believing it could be faked, so I'd rather try and figure out what's going on with the insiders and Incineroar in all of this. So I've been talking and relaying information between my source and other people who came to me, some of which did in fact have solid credentials to their name. The channel and my last video became a bit of a beacon for people to tell me what they might know. I am only trusting my source, however, but there are many consistencies between what several people told me that lead me to believe we have a fairly clear picture of some details that happen behind the scenes. The people I spoke with and myself came up with a theory as to what has happened here, what's going on with Incineroar, and why the insiders seem so against a seemingly solid leak. Here's the theory. I think the Grinch Leak is real, and I think Incineroar is simply DLC. However, we have an explanation for why that is, and why the insiders are so confused by it. We believe Sakurai got the rights for Banjo at a meeting he had with Microsoft at E3. Banjo was a late addition to Smash Ultimate's roster, and Sakurai left E3 early to rush back and begin working on Banjo immediately. We believe Incineroar was dropped in priority and is now DLC in order to have time and resources to get Banjo into the base roster. I believe insiders have actually seen Incineroar, but their information is outdated now. I have heard Incineroar is tied to other characters that they had knowledge of prior to those character reveals. Characters even the general Smash community did not have leaked to them. So insiders are so trusting that Incineroar must be in the game as the reason for believing he is tied directly to information they had that correctly gave them characters no one else knew about. Keep in mind, Brawl was delayed 3 months to add Sonic into the roster. Sakurai would have had time to add Banjo if he made him top priority. Phil Spencer even went to Japan fairly recently. Banjo's trademark has been seen being renewed on September 9th, very, very recently, and Vergaben only started talking about Minecraft content in Smash post E3, which would be after Sakurai had a meeting with Microsoft to get Banjo. Minecraft content might be bait to catch leakers, or it might be in the game in some smaller form, but the character from Microsoft is Banjo. There are 9 Pokemon characters in Smash Ultimate already, and no mainline Pokemon game comes out this year, so a Pokemon rep in the base game to hype up a new gen of Pokemon isn't top priority right now. Incineroar was also likely added a bit later than many other characters, if not last, because of when Smash supposedly went into development and when Sun and Moon was in production. Likely Incineroar would be chosen based on concept art alone, and again, might have been the last character decided for the game. So he may have been less polished than other characters, so he was chosen to be cut from the base roster to add in Banjo and give development time and resources towards that. Also, I have heard that Square is extra careful about secrecy and tells people different characters in order to protect the truth. This is partially why Vergaben was not sure on the Square rep. He likely heard multiple from different people, and some of these insiders that seem unsure about the Grinch Leak may have also heard a different Square rep than Gino. I really want any insiders who have only heard about characters and possibly seen Incineroar to really look at the Grinch Leak again. I completely understand writing off the Grinch leak at face value. If I had, for instance, heard about or even seen characters from a source that ended up being confirmed, and I was just waiting to see Incineroar and possibly heard a different Square rep than Gino, then I could understand how this Grinch leak might confuse an insider and cause them to not trust it without looking into all the evidence in favor of the leak. However, not even acknowledging the chance that a character they have seen or heard about could have been moved to DLC or simply is false info seems to me like putting a far too much faith in insider leaks, especially given everything going in favor of the Grinch leak itself. Unless these insiders have actually gotten a copy of the final game, I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss the Grinch leak. Once again, if an insider can't even acknowledge the fact DLC and character priority can change without the final game itself in your hands, please look closer at the leak and don't ignore it based on a tidbit of info you heard or something you may have seen. I won't list it all out here, but the character copyrights being renewed, the whole story behind how the leak came to be and where it leads back to, the extreme attention to details with everything in the leak, I think whatever insiders think they have heard or seen about the game aside, they would have to admit the leak is simply unfakeable. If it is faked, it is the best Smash fake of all time. I would not be ashamed of being fooled by it. This is beyond Artsy Omni's Rayman leak, and honestly, creating a very real-looking image is far easier of a leak than a blurry image with so much evidence surrounding it. The conspiracy it would take to set all that up is mind-boggling. I have also heard rumors that certain insiders and corporate Nintendo are angry about the leak. This fits the odd silence from certain places such as GameXplain over the leak. I implore channels like GameXplain to do a long discussion video on the Grinch leak and speak openly about it. If they cannot do that, or they do a half-assed or insincere job of covering it, I will have to draw conclusions on what that could mean. I know the risks involved with having my channel's name get tied up with a leak. If the Grinch leak ends up being fake, I'll get some hate for that. But I am simply being open and honest about everything I've heard and how I actually feel about the leak. Always make your own conclusions. I haven't seen complete proof of anything. I don't have the game. But the channel has always been about figuring out the Smash roster first and foremost. Real or fake, no one will be able to say I didn't do everything in my power to try and dig a little deeper for the Smash community and figure this all out. That piece of reputation is far more important to me than whether or not I'm right or wrong about believing a leak. So once again, thank you guys for all the subscribes, all the likes. It really helps out the channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do so, or like the video, or leave a comment, whatever you want. Until next time, have a good one.